I am right back here in the heart of Fells Point for the third straight morning, reporting on the fallout from what happened here over the weekend. 3 people shot in the square here along South Broadway in Thames Saturday night, early Sunday morning. The latest is a letter that's been signed onto by 40 businesses here in Fells Point. A letter drawing a line in the sand, threatening the city, saying these businesses will withhold their taxes and city fees until the city does something about the lawlessness here on the streets of Fells Point. Through Vignaraja, attorney and part-time WBAL radio talk show host who is organizing this effort by the business owners, says what the letter spells out is pretty simple.
If the city isn't going to deliver those basic services, picking up the trash on a reliable, regular basis, enforcing the traffic and parking laws, enforcing the general laws, making sure that people aren't selling alcohol in open air markets right in front of places that pay for liquor licenses, then they're not going to, then it's not fair for them, the city, to collect its taxes.
So these business owners saying they are fed up and frustrated, saying elected officials have turned their backs on them for far too long. So they say if there's nothing done, then they will stop paying their taxes, and they will also withhold their fees, putting them into escrow until some action is taken here that affects what's been going on in the streets of Fells Point. In response to the letter, City Hall issuing a statement to WBAL saying in part, Mayor Scott shares the business owners' frustrations over the violence across the city and has ordered police and other agencies to work together to address it. Also going on to say that Mayor Scott is working tirelessly to hold people committing violence accountable, removing violent offenders from our streets, and identifying illegal firearm traffickers, saying so Baltimore residents can enjoy a night out in the town without the fear of endangerment.
All right, so that video puts the perfect example forth that if we're having problems with the economy, right, we have not collapsed. We don't have inflation to the levels that we've never seen before, to where it's actually going to hurt everybody. If we're having problems right now, or the police having problems, and the city's having problems funding the police now, how's it going to look like later? It's going to look a lot worse. And these are just criminals who are doing things that they're not supposed to, right? They're like the Fox News article said, the department will start responding to certain non-emergency crimes. But when they become so great that they have to respond to so many, people are not going to be safe at all in the cities. That is the reason why you have to look at that information now and take steps. That if you're in the city, you're going to have to move away. And if you have the money and you want to stay in the city, that you buy a place out in the country. Because it's going to help you be your bug allocation to go to and have everything in place for you to be able to change your lifestyle, overnight. It'll make the transition a lot easier. Now, I want to shift the look at the economy with what is happening with the food supply, okay? And the reason that I want to do that is because when we talk about the economy, it goes hand in hand with food. And the reason is because if the economy is doing bad, the food prices are going to go up. And if we do not look at these issues together, then we're going to be caught off guard by one or the other. Okay, so I want to start this off, or change gears here with this video from ABC News. Here it is.
The crippling drought across multiple states, the alarming images tonight of Lake Mead at the Hoover Dam. It's part of the Colorado River system, the water supply for 40 million Americans. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, tonight at the Hoover Dam.
Tonight, the images of this megadrought are writ across the Southwest's landscape. Bathtub rings around reservoirs show where the water once was. Boat marinas and fields bone dry. Experts say Lake Mead, part of the Colorado River system that provides water to some 40 million people in 7 states, is at just 37% capacity. Officials say it'll dip into its lowest level ever recorded tomorrow.
Over the past 2 decades or so, the water level here at Lake Mead has decreased by about 130 feet. That's like a 13-story building, revealing islands that used to be completely submerged.
And the water from this lake makes agriculture possible in the desert Southwest, where farmers are struggling.
It's an economic disaster. We don't plant crops, we don't have jobs, and as we saw during the pandemic, This industry is essential for everyone.
Lake Mead's Hoover Dam provides hydroelectric power to the region, but the dwindling water supply forcing the dam's output to be cut by nearly 25%. And at some point, officials warn it could be forced to stop producing altogether. Nearly 300,000 miles of the Southwest are in exceptional drought, an area bigger than the state of Texas. Last year was the worst fire season, and this year even drier. And experts say it's being driven by climate change.
Really important to stay on this. And Matt, the federal government could soon be forced to take some unprecedented steps here.
They're major steps, David. For the first time this summer, the federal government is set to announce a water shortage along the lower Colorado River. That triggers automatic cuts to water in Nevada and in Arizona starting as early as next year. David.
It's going to affect a lot of people. Matt Gutman, thank you.
All right, so that video is really important because it really sets the stage here, right, for the things that I'm going to be talking on this second half of the video. So this is going to affect over 40 million people, you know, at least the water is. And it's going to affect even more people with the farmers not being able to put anything in the ground. All right, so what you heard right there at the last part of all of this is that they're expecting Arizona and Nevada to have the problems early next year, right? To have, for the general population to really pay attention to this closer by early next year. But now, if you take the steps right now, if you live in Nevada and Arizona, then you have 6 months. You're gonna be 6 months ahead of the game. We have to act right now. All right. So your water preps have to be different now. I don't know if those areas it's legal for you to collect rain, but if there's any rain that's going to be coming that way, you better collect it. You got to collect the water, water bottle. You have to stock up on it. If you're able to have some type of surface water, that's going to be great. So this is the reason why you have to have a pond, because that's going to collect water in the surface, and you're going to have some type of river or creek running through it that is not dependent on one of these systems, right? And also if you have a well. So those three can be things that you can have in your own property that's going to help you have more water, even if the state government says that there's, you know, very little water coming through your faucet. You're going to be able to take care of your needs like that. But even if the needs get so great, you're going to have to start learning how to live with such little amounts of water. Because right now, just look at your water bill and see how much you're using on, right now. And do the math on 1 gallon per person per day, including the animals. And not to mention the garden that you're going to be growing. All right. Your water is going to have to be very, very controlled, and make sure that you don't have, any type of waste. Washing your driveway or washing your car is not going to take priority over you watering your plants. All right, and there's this thing that you can do where you can actually, when you water your garden, you can put a plastic bag or you can put a plastic container where it's going to create a small greenhouse effect, where the water is going to evaporate, but it's going to get caught in the plastic and it's going to go back down to the soil. All right, and the other thing is actually having a greenhouse, so you are able to grow, your vegetables year round, and it's going to be easier for the moistures to stay within it. But my point is that you have to take the steps right now, because now you have the information today, and it looks like 6 months from now, you're going to be facing with that difficulty where the government is going to tell you cannot use so much water. All right. So now that we're looking at this, right, we're looking at the problem with the finances being worldwide. Now we're looking at what the United Nations is saying, and they're paying attention to with the food. And this from the mostimportantnews.com, and the title of the article is, "The United Nations is sounding the alarm about the dramatic increase in global food prices. Conditions are heading in the direction that we have been anticipating, and that is not good news at all. Food prices are rising at a very alarming rate, and at this point, even the United Nations is sounding the alarm. Most of my readers remember the global food riots that we witnessed in 2008 and 2011, and if conditions continue to deteriorate, we would soon be facing something even worse. Of course, this crisis has not emerged out of a vacuum. We struggle to feed the world even in the best of years. And for a very long time, I have been warning that we would eventually be facing extremely painful food prices and serious shortages of food in the poor areas of the planet. But those running things just kept assuring us that everything would work out just fine somehow. Unfortunately, they were wrong. This week, even the United Nations was forced to admit that we are entering very dangerous territory after global food prices shot up for a 12th month in a row. Of course, there are production shocks happening all over the globe at this point. The drought that is crippling agricultural production in Brazil and in other South American countries has been absolutely devastating. And yesterday, I wrote an entire article about how the endless megadrought in the western half of the United States is forcing some farmers to destroy their crops. Without enough water to irrigate their crops, many California farmers won't be producing much at all this year. And that is really bad news because California produces more of our fruit and vegetables than anyone else does by a very wide margin. What this means is that food prices are going to continue to rise aggressively. All right, and the reason that all of this is very important is because it's becoming a global problem. All right, what I've always said here is that if you're planning to leave the country, if you're in the upper middle class and rich, if you're planning to leave the country, just know that more than likely wherever it is that you're going, you're gonna experience some type of problem. If you're gonna be like me, who do not have the means to just get up and go anywhere, you're gonna sit here and you're gonna have to live through all of this. All right, and things are gonna get very dicey for a little while. But again, if we come together as a community of preppers, and as you know, there's about 4 million of us all throughout the country. If we come together and we actually create an alliance with churches, with organizations that are going to distribute food, then it's going to be a lot easier to keep the population calmed rather than everybody going crazy. And, churches are going to be the main focus here because they're the ones who are going to be people are going to be seeking churches for help because they already do that on a regular basis, right? And sometimes churches, depending on what it is that people need, they help or they turn them away, to a different program that specializes with whatever it is that people need. But my point is that if we come together as a community of preppers and we stop being selfish and we actually look forward to helping our community, it's going to be a lot better. So we have to try somehow to get a hold of these, churches and communities to see if they are going to do something about it. You can try and get them to be proactive, but if they decide not to be, then your hands are clean because you already tried what you could. And of course, we cannot help everyone, but we can help some people, and just that enough amount of people that our help could be what sets the country to a better position than if nobody prepare at all, right? We can change the number of preppers from being 4 million to be over 10 million very, very fast, especially once all of this starts being more evident to everyone and people are going to start looking for alternative solutions to the problems that they're facing. All right, so the next article that I have for you also comes from mostimportantnews.com, and I want to read this because I have something that I want to share with you after that would only make sense if I read this first. Ranchers sell off cattle and farmer idles hundreds of thousands of acres as Americans' drought emergency escalates. In my entire life, this is the worst that drought conditions have ever been in the western half of the country. During the past 20 years, the amount of territory in the West considered to be suffering from exceptional drought has never gone higher than 11% until now. Today, that number is sitting at 27%. The term megadrought is being thrown around a lot these days to describe what is happening, but this isn't just a drought. This is a true national emergency that is really starting to affect our food supply. Just look at what is happening up in North Dakota. The vast majority of the state is either in a worst level of drought or second worst level of drought. The ranchers are auctioning off their cattle by the thousands. Needless to say, ranchers in North Dakota don't want to get rid of their cattle, but the drought has pushed prices of hay and corn so high that many of them simply have no choice. As cattle herds shrink all over the western half of the country, this is going to push beef prices significantly higher than they are right now. And in many areas, they are already at ridiculous levels. All right, so this is what I wanted to say to you after I read this article. with the video that I just showed you, right, that I showed you before these articles, where they say that 40 million people will be affected. How many more are going to be affected by the lack of food, by the food shortages, because these farmers and these ranchers cannot grow the things that we need at the grocery stores, right? The majority of the fruits and vegetables come from California, and the majority of the beef comes from the western half of the United States. Well, let me tell you this. First, if you're a rancher, you should really consider, all right, either expanding your property or using some of that property to grow your own food to feed your cattle. That's going to be one of the very most obvious solutions that you can face, especially if you already sold thousands of your cattle. You can use the extra land to grow your own food for your own animals. And that serves a lesson for us preppers. Because if the fruits, vegetables, and the meats come from the West, and they're going to be affecting the entire country, those are exactly the same things that you can grow in your own backyard. This is the reason why preparedness is so important, because if we saw people freaking out when the pandemic hit, when the food shortages hit, when what happened in Texas hit, when the gas shortages hit, all right, if people were freaking out because they didn't know what to do, how much more are they going to freak out later when the farmers who did not put anything on the ground, shows up at the grocery store, right? They didn't do anything. They're not planting anything. So that means that next year there's not going to be any produce in the grocery stores, or at least it's going to be reduced significantly. All right, so we're going to see the prices of everything go up, as well as we're going to see the shortages of it. All right, and what I want to show you right now is a video on how people in Haiti are affected by poverty. And the reason I feel like this is a prudent thing to show you is because if right now we're the most powerful country in the world where we can get anything we want whenever we want, then if everything deteriorates to the point where we look like Haiti, then you're gonna have to take the steps necessary right now, because you don't want to end up like they are right now, right? It's gonna make more sense when you see the video. But what I'm saying is, don't let your overconfidence in the system really blind you to the fact that you can end up in this situation, right? Whether you're Christian or not. Because one of the things that I run into very, very often is Christian people who yes, we need to trust God. We do trust the Lord. But that doesn't mean that you won't be poor. Okay, there's plenty of other countries in the world who have Christian people who are poor, right? I'm a Christian, and when I was in Mexico to get my status fixed, I was very poor. It doesn't mean that God left me, right? Doesn't mean that my salvation was shaken up or anything like that. What I'm saying is that even if you're a Christian, you're gonna go through hard times. So what I've been experiencing, and the people that I've been talking to, is that they're getting into this bubble of denial, and they're saying, nope, no, nothing's gonna happen. Nope. God got me. All I need is the rapture. But they forget that there's millions of Christians in the Middle East, in Africa, in other places throughout the world, where they are suffering persecution, where they're being killed for their beliefs, they're being crucified for their beliefs. They're starving as well. Their countries will be torn apart. So you're in the United States right now, and if something happens in the United States, that doesn't mean that's the end of the world. All right? If the United States is meant to crumble and God doesn't come for another 1,000 years, guess what? The United States is going to be long gone before Christ comes back. All right? So don't have this idea that if something starts happening in the United States because Christ is coming back tomorrow, because that might not be the case. That is the reason you have to prepare right now. Okay? So let me go ahead and show you this video, because I don't want you to end up in that position. All right? Here it is.
They look a lot like pancakes or cookies. The recipe passed down from generations here in Haiti. Women spend entire days making them. Grandmothers, daughters, and younger girls. Infants are nursed while mothers work the mix. Kids seem to enjoy them, at least when our camera was around. But these patties, known as bonbon terres by the Haitians who eat them, are a grim reminder of just how poor this Caribbean nation is. They aren't sweet, they're hard to swallow, and add almost nothing in terms of nutrition, because the cookies are actually made of dirt.
It fills your stomach. When we haven't eaten anything, this dirt cookie fills your stomach.
Traded, sold, and even hoarded by women here in the poorest section of the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, Cité Soleil in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Small amounts of vegetable shortening, salt, and occasionally sugar are mixed in with the dirt and water as well. Made in places like this, an old fort where torture was once common by corrupt dictators here, the Fort Dimanche is now a center of commerce built around the dirt cookies, a basketball court, soccer field, and school for hundreds of kids and home to many.
To get to the basketball court, which acts as a preparation area for the dirt cookies, you have to cross this open sewer, which is littered with animal parts and trash and other nasty things, to get to an area where the cookies are laid out to dry out in the sun. You can see that these are still very wet, not quite ready to be served, but this is literally dirt being prepared for humans to eat on top of other dirt and filth.
Celine Denis' life revolves around the cookies. For days we watched as the grandmother sat mixing the dirt cookie batter. Selling the cookies is Denis' sole source of income and often her only food.
It's a necessary evil. I'm in a bad situation, and that's why I make them. It hurts my heart, but I have no choice. We're forced to eat it. It makes us sick, but not the way it would to anybody who's not used to eating it. Our system is kind of used to it.
The dirt is trucked into this huge slum and sold at an enormous markup to the women, who pay about $5 a sack. They say it comes from an area in the mountains and are convinced the dirt is rich in minerals and vitamins. And if they don't have the money, they're happy, indeed eager to buy the dirt on credit. If it rains or the sun is blocked, the cookies can't dry out, and women actually end up owing money on the dirt they've purchased. Not a drop of batter is wasted. And throughout Haiti, the cookies are seen in urban markets and small mountain villages. We rarely saw adults eating the cookies, as many seemed ashamed. Kids, however, asked repeatedly why we were so interested before freely eating them. The UN's humanitarian coordinator in Haiti says the need for dirt cookies is an indictment of government failure and waste. The 5-cent cookies, a necessity in Haiti, imported food too expensive for families living on about $1 a day.
Some 3.3 million Haitians are food insecure today. Around 25% of the children are chronically malnourished. These are the same indicators as in sub-Saharan Africa.
Pregnant women have long eaten the cookies for their supposed source of calcium and antacid benefits. But doctors dispute this and warn of tooth decay, constipation, and worse. The United States ambassador to Haiti has taken a personal interest in lessening dependence on the cookies.
I've actually taken members of Congress down to Cité Soleil, and they've seen it too.
What do they say when they see people eating dirt?
Well, it's worrisome. It's very worrisome, and we don't like to see it.
Since the UN arrived in Haiti in 2006 as peacekeepers, nutrition has improved in pockets, but the dirt cookies are still being eaten. The widespread hunger means hundreds of kids starting another school day in Cité Soleil, as the Haitian flag is raised, will be reduced to eating dirt. This despite international efforts.
There is hope, by the way, there is hope. Because despite this bleak picture, it is doable to lift Haiti out of poverty.
But even the most optimistic observers agree the future is bleak for these kids without two elements long missing in Haiti: money and a stable government. Reporting in Cité Soleil, Haiti, this is Benno Schmidt for World Focus.
All right, so that video is really important because, you know, right now you live in a country that is rich, that is powerful. And even if you're in the lower rungs of the economic ladder, you have these social safety nets given to you by the government. They're helping you to have a standard of living a lot greater than the people that you just saw on the screen. Okay? So if you have the opportunity right now to get everything in place, because if we eventually end up with the people at Haiti are, you're going to be better off because you're going to have all the systems in place. Okay? So right now, The mission of the prepper community, or at least of Memon Survival, is to redefine and restore the prepper reputation, to create a community of well-prepared, selfless individuals around the world and become a refuge for the unprepared, not politically motivated, but all united under Jesus Christ. Okay? Because the reason that I want to restore the prepper reputation is because, we have been made fun of for a very long time. People see it as something unnecessary because the system is in place. We have a supply chain. And they don't see a day where this may all go away. But we do, right? That is one of our abilities, that we can see into the future. And we think, we have to prepare for something that is going to come in the future, even if it's not here today. And these are the steps that we're going to take in order to make sure that our family and our friends are better off than everybody else. All right, so as things become progressively worse, people are going to be open more to the idea of preparedness. That is the reason why we have to make sure that we're founded in really good foundations, or that we're founded on really good principles. That's the correct word, to where we can guide other people to be better off than they are right now, if something like that was to happen. So if we are eventually going to end up like something is happening in Haiti, do you not want to take the steps necessary right now to mitigate that? Of course you do, right? Because if not, then you're just, whatever comes your way, it's gonna be a lot worse, and it's gonna be your fault for not preparing, because now you have the information, you have the analysis, and you have the ability to get prepared. All right, so right now, I want to give you the last headline for today, because it should really make you think what you're going to do this year, the rest of this year, and next year. This is from Forbes.com. It says, IRS releases child tax credit payment dates. Here's when families can expect relief. Biden's $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan significantly expanded the child tax credit for the 2021 tax year. It will now provide eligible parents with a $3,000 credit for every child aged 6 to 17 and $3,600 for every child under age 6, up from $2,000 per dependent child up to age 16. Individuals earning up to $75,000 a year, head of households up to $112,500 a year, and joint filers up to $115,000 a year are eligible to receive full amount of the credit. The IRS will use information from 2019 or 2020 tax returns or the agency's online non-filer tool to determine eligibility. Some of the money will come in form of advance payments via either direct deposit or paper checks, up to $300 per month per qualifying child, from July 15, August 13, September 15, October 15, November 15, and December 15, the IRS said on Monday. Families can claim the remainder of the credit on the 2021 tax returns they file next spring. All right, so the reason that I wanted to end this podcast with this headline is because the government is giving you help. All right, they already sent the stimulus. I believe it was back in February or March, and more than likely that money is gone out of your bank account. And if it's not, then that's a good thing, because you can use it towards your preparedness. But just think, if you already got those taxes and you blew it on things, you might have gone on vacation, you might have gotten a new iPhone, you might have gotten a new car, or whatever the case may be. Just plan ahead for this money to be used towards your preparedness. And the things that you have to think about is how expensive preparedness can become if you don't do it right. Okay? First, you have to sit down and you have to draw out everything that you're going to be spending it on. For example, if you're going to start off a garden, then you have to look at the expense of how much it's going to be for the tiller. And you have to get a good one, because if you buy a small crappy one, then it's not going to do you any good and just wasted that money. One of the good ones that's out there cost about $500 to $600. And that might be a high price to pay for one of them, but they're going to last you a long time, and they're going to do a wonderful job to help you till the ground, because you're not going to be able to do it by hand, okay? The other thing is you're going to have to spend money on the size of your garden. That's another cost that you have to think about, because, fencing it is not going to be cheap. And then you have to think about that, and you have to think about the posts, and then the fence and everything else, the door. And if you're gonna do a second layer to get it even higher, so you know your chickens or whatever doesn't jump over or actually fly over, then that's gonna be another expense, you know, making it taller. So all of that has to be considered when you're gonna do your preparedness. Okay, how much money you're gonna spend on storable food, how much money you're gonna spend on cans, how much money you're gonna spend on fertilizers, how much you're gonna spend on the seeds and everything else. That to you might sound like a lot, but if you're getting help from the government, it's gonna be a lot easier to get it done. And this is gonna be something productive that is gonna feed your family in the future, right? So you're not being selfish or anything like that, or you're not wasting that money, because the purpose of those things that you're gonna be spending it on is gonna be something that is gonna help your family be better off if we ever find ourselves in a situation like Haiti, okay? And you might think we're never gonna be in that situation because we will just get bailed out. But the question is, by whom? Who's gonna bail us out? You know, when Germany went into hyperinflation, when was it? Oh man, I can't remember right now. Back in the 1920s, I think, something like that. Anyways, the point is that the United States stepped in to bail them out. All right, when other countries go into hyperinflation, richer countries step in. But who's gonna bail us out with such massive inflation that we have, or you know, the debt that we have? Who's gonna bail us out? Certainly, it might not be the European Union, because they're having trouble themselves. If this global problem with money and debt and everything is going to affect all the rich countries, then who's going to help us? Russia's not going to do it because they hate us, right? Or at least they really, really don't like us. China is not going to do it because right now we're in an economic war, and we're probably going to go in all-out war soon, which is going to be something I'm going to talk about in the next podcast. So who's going to bail us out? Probably nobody. We're probably going to get, if China does become the next world superpower and, you know, the top economy, they're probably going to do to us what we've been doing to them, which is economic sanctions, which is going to make, you know, life in America even worse. So those are the things that we have to look forward to, or not look forward to, but we have to look ahead and prepare for. All right. So right now you're going to get another $300 per eligible kid in your house. And all, you know, let's say you have three children, you know, that's the average household, which is 5 people. That's going to be $900 a month for 6 months that you can put towards your preparedness. And that can cover a lot of things. You can spend 1 month, $900 on stocking up on cans, right? On whole grains like rice and beans and you know, other things. You can stock up on flour. You can stock up on, you know, things that you're going to be able to use to cook later on. The next month, you can use those $900 to set up the coops in your house. And, you know, that's going to help you house your chickens, your rabbits, your sheep, cattle, whatever it is that you want to have. And then the other $900 for the next month can go towards the garden, getting the tiller, getting the fence, getting the proper test for your soil to make sure that it has the right balances. Then the month after that, you can do it for water. $900 worth of water is going to be a lot of water. Just one pallet of water at the Sam's right now is $150, and it's 48 cases of 45 bottles of 19 points or 16.9. Anyways, the point is half liter. Okay, that's a lot of water. $900 worth of it is going to be a lot. Even if you only get one pallet, you can get the barrels that you're going to need to set up your rain catchment system, or you can set up the your surface water to where you can have electricity coming from it, or not from it, but that you're gonna set up the pump that's gonna pull the water and irrigate your garden. Okay, $900 a month is gonna be very beneficial to you, and you're gonna get 6 payments of those, and then plus whatever it is left for next year's taxes. You know, whatever other credits you get, and maybe, you know, right now there's Democrats pushing for the payments to become permanent. So let's say they do. Now instead of getting 6, you get 12. All that money can go towards your preparedness, and you're gonna be prepared like that. Okay. Another thing that I just popped into my head, $900 worth of hygiene necessities. Toothpaste, toothbrush, soaps, shampoos, kits to create your own, things you can stock up to create your own, different things. Maybe you can even put all that money together and buy a piece of land, or put down payment towards it, and each month that they give you that money, it's going to pay itself off. So the point is that there's a lot of things that you can do, and they're giving you the opportunity to set up the system right now so you don't end up like somebody in Haiti. It doesn't sound like something possible, but it is. Trust me, it is. What I'm going to be doing in the next video that goes along with this is going to be that I'm going to compare the United States poverty to other poverties around the world. Because if right now you're used to living your life right now, however, whichever part of the economic ladder you're on, if you're used to that, and things get so bad to where it looks like Haiti, or, it looks like other very poor country, then the shock is not going to be as much, because everything is going to be prepared for you, or you're going to prepare everything for your family and your friends. So I hope all of this makes sense. Hopefully I'm not ranting and, just going in circles, which I don't think I am, but my point is that you're still rich. You have to take advantage of this. And make sure that you take the right steps. Do not get sucked into the gear. All right, you don't need 5,000 rounds of ammo when you have nothing stored up for your food. You do have to make sure that you take the steps. All right, the 14 things that I've been showing you in this podcast is, you have to have your alliance. You have to have a plan. Your food, water, medical, energy, tactical, communications, wilderness training, bug out bag, bug out location, bug out vehicle, hygiene, and clothing. All right, so those 14 categories, if you do it right, they're gonna help you be well-rounded in your preparedness. And even if you don't have the people to help you, you can take one at a time, the way that they're listed. And once you come to a goal within that category, then you can move on to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, until you come back around, and then you further that one along, and then you go, and then that's how you're gonna be able to get everything taken care of, and then you're gonna be better off instead of just focusing on one thing. Okay. And there's some things that are more important than others. So make sure that you look at whatever it is that you have right now, whatever you're lacking, and then, just make the plan according to it. Because let's say you already have 2 years worth of food, you have no water, you have no energy, you have 30 guns and 10,000 rounds of ammo, but you don't have communications and everything like that. So, if you're already well prepared in one category, move on to the next that you're not. And this money that they're going to be sending you for your children's, tax credit, use it towards that, because that is going to feed your family in the future. Okay. So anyways, I want to go ahead and leave things there, because time has come along. It's already an hour. So I would really appreciate it if you can consider supporting this work that I do, this information that I bring you, everything that I'm teaching you, everything that I've done to make sure that the United States of America is a better place to live, that our neighbors are taken care of, that you're taken care of. Support that work by going to themementsofastore.com, getting the book for free, planning on buying the book when it actually comes out, and I have a printed copy of it. All those things, even though, they're little things, they're really going to increase the possibility of this community of preppers becoming something that we have never seen ever before. I have a lot of plans that I want to do, but if, I cannot do them just getting paid $12 an hour. I need your help. And going to the store and ordering the book is going to be great help. And you're going to see things coming out of this. If it works out, if everything goes, like I really want it to be, then everybody's going to be benefiting, not just in the prepper community, but all around the country. So I would really appreciate it if you can help us out. But anyways, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.